Alright, so this is Champion Dumbest Barb Ever, and I'm going to be going over his gear, what he does, why that is his name, and how he could be improved. Um, so first we'll start with his name, Dumbest Barb Ever, because initially when I was first conceiving this character, I was intending that I would make a build where I come up here and either with Berserk or Leap Attack, I kill Shank, single target, very quickly so that all the monsters around him would die. And then I would use Find Item on all these guys around him that died with him. Right? So that seems like a really great reason to name someone the dumbest barb ever. And the thinking here was that this might be a good way to get runes. After doing this a couple times, I quickly discovered this is not a good way to get runes, and so he was very quickly repurposed to just be a generic Travencall runner. So his name stayed, the dumbest barb ever, and his target changed. Another thing that makes him dumb is that I chose to go for Mace Mastery because I just really like the idea of Mace Mastery. It is not the ideal choice. In 1.07, you're typically going to want either swords or axes. If you go axes, you want Berserker Axe. Probably not ideal because the damage numbers on elite weapons are lower in 1.07 than later versions, and so realistically, Sword Mastery is going to be the best in general, and use either Colossus Blades or Highland Blades. And so currently, whenever I craft weapons, I go for Highland Blades in case I choose to improve on this guy later by making a new one, a new Travencall runner who is built more efficiently. Part of the, I guess, problem with using the Scourge is the high dexterity requirement. This one has requirements minus 30%. Not everyone that I had that. And so his dexterity has many more points statted into it than it really should be, so that he can equip scourges. With swords, you don't have that issue. Well, I guess Highland Blades do, but Colossus Blades shouldn't. And so, another way that he is dumb. Other than that, he's pretty stereotypical, Mace Mastery, increased speed, natural resist, whirlwind. Battle orders is maxed out. And then I didn't max out Find Item because, and I'll show you, when I'm doing the High Council runs, there's a lot of clutter on the screen, which I clear up. And I don't like having all of the clutter, like sifting through the items. And so the more Find Item you have, the more clutter there is, and it comes to a point where you can no longer see everything on the screen all at once. So I typically will look for maps, Travencall maps, that have two distinct groups of counselors rather than one large blob, so that once I clear out all the white items from the floor, everything that remains is visible on just one screen. Right? I don't have to like pick stuff up, throw it down the stairs, and then come back up and look again, just so that I can make sure I've seen everything. So that was a quick example of how a run goes. They're pretty straightforward and simple. And then he picks up all kinds of garbage. He collects consumables, gems of every tier and color to be used in various crafting recipes, all kinds of magic items and rare items, and unique and some set items. So the equipment that he's wearing, we'll go over it one piece at a time. These gloves, which are bugged 1.07 blood gloves crafted. So the 1.07 blood recipe, which gives the life steal, anytime you roll life steal as an affix on that craft, all of the life from the craft recipe, all of the life steal from the craft recipe, and all of the life steal from your affix combine together to become life steal. This can happen on gloves, weapons, rings, and amulets. It cannot happen on the boots because the boots, like blood boots or any boot, cannot roll life steal. So it can't bug and combine everything. So the main thing here is the 27 life steal, and then the cold resist. Cold and lightning are the most useful for me in the High Council. And then mana is useful because whirlwind is expensive. Um, and then crushing blow in 1.07. Crushing blow works at full effectiveness in hell and completely ignores all monster resistances. So physical immune mobs take damage from crushing blow. Alright, so next item, this ring, I use strictly for the magic damage reduction. I have a lot of magic damage reduction, or a decent amount, to help against lightning enchanted, cold enchanted council members. They can very quickly kill you in 1 or 2 shots if you don't have either a ton of life or a ton of reduction. Uh, you will also probably notice that Dwarf Star looks different than you're used to. Um, yeah, a lot of uniques in 1.07 are that way. Mavina's Belt. So this is 40% faster run walk. The run walk in 1.07 is linear. There's no diminishing returns, so if you stack a lot of run walk, you can move very quickly. This Amazon has something like 240 run walk, and it's all counts as skill run walk. The item run walk does not have diminishing returns. So this belt I use on basically everything that I play here. And then the 14 mana steal is a perfect roll, the maximum roll for the mana steal. This is a bugged 1.07, I think it's called Cobalt, whatever the cold resist ring recipe is. So you roll a sapphire together with a thawing potion and a magic ring in your cube, and it generates a magic ring with cold resists. If the prefix on that ring is triumphant, then all of the cold resist from the Herodic Cube recipe instead becomes mana after each kill. And so you can roll anywhere from 7 to 37 mana after each kill if you get the triumphant prefix on these rings. This one, if I were to redo the Barbarian, this glove will be laying of hands for the demon enhanced damage, and then this ring would stay, and this ring would instead be a bugged life leech blood ring, which is very expensive, requires runes to craft rings. And so the best way to get runes is to do Hellforge rushing for Nightmare and or Hell. Now, currently, I don't have any bugged life leech rings, and so he's still wearing this one. I wear Natalia's boots for the cold and lightning resist and the 40 run walk. If I were to redo this character and give him a better stat distribution, instead of Natalia's boot, I would wear Alder's boot. The 10 damage goes to mana. 10% would help with having replaced the mana after each kill ring, so that whenever there's mana burn, I still have chances to get to cast Whirlwind without necessarily having to drink one of my infinite full rejuvenation potions.
Yes.
Drinking them isn't a big deal because you can buy them back by selling one to a vendor and then using shift right click. But then also the 50 life would be very useful. And but yeah, for now, this guy, because of the way he's built, the cold and lightning resist, is useful. His offhand weapon is a sword, even though he has mace mastery, which is perfectly fine because the damage from Whirlwind is always calculated using the main hand weapon. And so this being a sword and only having 9 to 15 damage does not matter. What does matter is the amplify damage on attack, and 3 combat skills doesn't hurt. So you'll notice I use Whirlwind and amplify damage goes off, which you're not used to probably. In version 1.07, the amplified damage does work, or any on attack proc works with Whirlwind. And so I spent a significant amount of time shopping for a range adder 2 weapon with amplified damage on attack and a nice prefix. So this prefix, Echoing, which sounds like it should be Warcries, is +3 to combat skills. I would have preferred +2 Barbarian. I did settle, but 3 points in Whirlwind is not terrible. Then the other thing you'll notice about this weapon is it has 4 sockets without a socket affix. So in 1.07, Larzuk, when you use your quest reward for socketing, which I think I've already used, will offer in magic items more sockets than later versions. Normally, in the completed game, he can only give up to 2 sockets. In 1.07, he can give up to 4 sockets in magic items, and if they can't have 4 sockets, then it would be up to however many they are able to have. So like helmets, magic helmets can't have 4 sockets, but a magic helmet Larzuk can still give 3 sockets to. So up to 4 or whatever the most amount of sockets it can have is. And one of the first thoughts you might have if you start thinking about it is, oh, that would make it really easy to make a jeweler's Monarch of Deflecting without the jeweler's prefix. And well, yes, but no, because monarchs here and any shield are capped at 3 sockets. So Larzuk would only be able to give it 3 or 2 or 1. I got really lucky. He gave this 4 sockets, and then I put jewels with cold resist and lightning resist to increase my cold and lightning well above 100. Specifically because when fighting conviction council members, they do -140 to my resists. So here I have +55 and +58 cold and lightning resist to counteract conviction when fighting against lightning enchanted, cold enchanted counselors. My armor is the Gladiator's Bane. It's similar to the one that still exists, but the rolls, there is no roll. I guess the defense maybe rolls, but I think even that doesn't. I think it's just always the same defense. And then the magic damage and physical damage are always the same. Like they don't roll. So you might think of it as always having the maximum roll. And then I put Soul Rune in it for more physical damage reduction. If I were to remake the Barbarian, I would likely still wear this armor. One important note about damage reduction and magic damage reduction in 1.07 is that it is applied before resistances. So your resist is considered 0, the damage reduction does its thing, and then your resists apply to whatever damage is left over. This is most important when dealing with amplify damage, because that gives you -100 physical resist, but the damage reduction applies before the -100 physical resist. So that's neat. Vamp Gaze, on the other hand, the damage reduction is a percentage, and so it's added together with the amplify damage, making it much less effective than integer damage reduction. So here's the next item on the list, Vamp Gaze. which is, if you're familiar, both of these, if you're familiar with the 1.08 versions from when you played as a kid on Realm, this is the same as that. The 1.07 and 1.08 versions here are the same on these items. So the main thing that I was looking for here was the magic damage reduction, and then dual leech is nice. Um, but if I were to make this again with a more accurately statted barbarian, I would use Ariat's Face, which has the 15% target defense, which sets the enemy's defense to 15% of its normal value. So if they have 100 defense, then after 15% target defense is applied, now their defense is 15, which means I would not have to put Eth rune in my weapon. So normally I put Eth runes in my main hand weapon because of the minus 25% target defense. And so this would give me one socket of my weapon back by having the percent target defense already in the helmet slot. Another cool thing about the Ariad's Face here is the way it looks. You know, this gray or silver color is neat. And then, you know, the barbarian skills are nice. That adds a little to battle orders. 30 life adds, you know, a little bit to your life. And then the damage, the maximum damage based on character level is pretty useful as well. So here, 2021, adding 40 damage or 46 maximum damage added 400 to the damage on my character screen. So that's pretty significant. That's like, what, 25%? The character screen is probably inaccurate, but still, it's nice to see such big change on the number. And then this, I would likely put Soul Rune in, but possibly Rune. One or the other. My main hand weapon is this crafted Scourge. It's the best Scourge that I got. 326% enhanced damage out of a possible 511. You can roll even higher than 511, but when you save an exit, it truncates. The Eth rune for the target defense, the 2 pull runes for the demon enhanced damage, which is useful because not only it works on the weapon damage, but it works on off-weapon damage sources like my charms. So like here, 3 maximum damage, and then the 150% enhanced damage to demons applies to the charm damage as well. It should also apply if I were to wear this, it would apply to that. The requirements minus 30% is nice, and then the greatly increased attack speed came as part of my affix selections when rolling the crafted weapon, which is really nice because I didn't have to put any Shea runes in it. And then the other thing you might notice about this is the 3 sockets, similar to how Larzuk can give too many sockets to magic weapons and magic armors and magic helmets. He will always give a crafted item 3 sockets or the maximum number of sockets it can have if that number is less than 3. So basically all crafted weapons will get 3 sockets unless you're doing a weapon base that can't have sockets. So for example, if you were to craft an orb in 1.07, Larzuk can't give it sockets because orbs in 1.07 don't have sockets. My weapon switch, I have this +3 war cries axe to give me better find item chance, and then suicide branch for the 50% casting speed. You'll see suicide branch here does not have +1 to all skills, so it's just a cast speed. It would be basically equivalent of wearing Wizard Spike for this purpose, except for Wizard Spike has a higher dexterity requirement. My charms. So in 1.07, the charms can have all kinds of maximum damage affixes. So they can have a prefix and a suffix that each have plus to maximum damage. And the grand charms can have up to 20 on a prefix and up to 20 on a suffix. So the 16 maximum damage is 4 from the best possible roll, and then 35 life. This charm, 20 to maximum damage, which is the maximum of maiming roll with 118 attack rating. I don't really need the attack rating because of the Eth rune, but because the charm is good, I wear it because I like that it's good. Um, 27 life, 17 all resistances. The grand charms here can have up to plus 20 to all resists. The large charms can have up to plus 12, and the small charms can have up to plus 6 instead of 5. So this one could be improved by a lot, but they're pretty rare. They don't drop much. And then lightning resist is because I need overstacked lightning resists. If I were to remake this character as another barbarian using swords and the other changes that I've already mentioned, it's likely that I would use less damage and or life charms and use resist cold and lightning resist charms instead. This is probably my favorite charm that I've found. The fine small charm of inertia. So 3 maximum damage, 18 attack rating, and then that's 3% faster run walk. You might think, if you know older versions, that it's 5 run walk because that's what they used to be. But they're only 5 run walk in versions 1.08 and I think 1.09, but not 1.07. In 1.07, it is correctly 3 run walk. This is a perfectly rolled bloody small charm of Vita, 3 to minimum damage and 20 life. The large charms can have up to 7 minimum damage, and the grand charms can have up to 11 minimum damage. So here is a 1 away from perfect roll serrated small charm of maiming. So 11 maximum damage out of a possible 12. And then here, these large charms are both damage life charms. So 12 and 12 damage, and then 21 and 28 life. These are pretty good. The damage roll on the prefix is maximum, and then the life could be up to 36. So there's some room for improvement there. I've done, I don't know, probably at this point, probably 6 or 7,000 high council runs. And these are the charms that I've settled on for now. So it's pretty rare at this point for me to get improvements. The things that I keep in my stash is vampire bone gloves for the bloodcraft recipe, so that when a Shea rune drops, I can craft the glove. And then in whatever weapon that I'm trying to craft at that time, so in this case, a Highland blade, and then 3 jewels and 3 rubies, so that I can make sure I always have a jewel and a ruby available whenever a Shea rune or an Ort rune drops for crafting my glove or my weapon, or whenever a Lum drops to craft amulets, a Ko drops to craft rings, or a Foul drops to also craft the weapon. What I use my gold on is I come here and I gamble heavy gloves because of the chance that they'll upgrade to vampire bone gloves to use as a crafting base. And I think that's pretty much it. Who he is, what he does, his gear. His life after battle orders is not great. 2085. I'm at a point now where I have enough damage reduction and magic damage reduction that this is usually enough life. Very occasionally, his life will noticeably drop down. The other day, I noticed it go down to like 600. And when it is dropping down, it drops down big chunks at a time. So 600 life left, could very well have been one hit away from death. And typically that happens with multi-shot, lightning enchanted, cold enchanted, conviction, when all of those spawn together. However, sometimes it can also happen when they spawn might, fanaticism, extra strong, and then they're always cursed. So that can also be a time when my life, when I have a chance of dying. I do occasionally die. It has been a while. I think the last time I died, I'm level 93. I think the last time I died was like when the bar was about here on level 92. I don't really play carefully. I don't try hard. So dying is a thing. And then I guess the last noteworthy thing about him, generally I will keep a flawless skull here. Um, so that if I see a gem shrine, I can make a perfect skull. And then I forgot to mention the amulet, which I wear Saracen's Chance. And the only thing that I care about here, like why I picked it, is the 3% chance to cast amplify damage on attack. But the resist, the strength, and the dex are also nice. Like they're all useful. But if all this did was 3% amplify damage on attack and nothing else, I would still wear it. So the ideal, I'm crafting the Highland Blade right now because of the base attack speed. If I ever go Sword Mastery Barb, and the ideal affixes that I would want on a sword like this would be built-in increased attack speed, enhanced damage like 400 or higher, and then amplify damage on attack. Having amplify damage on the main hand as well as the offhand and the amulet would be really, really strong. Uh, so yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I'm going to be doing this for most of my characters, going over who they are, what they farm, what's their goal. This guy, his goal is just collect lots of consumables, basically, for all the various crafting recipes and all the various versions. And some of the characters that I show you will simply be crafting mules, like, oh, this guy just rolls this recipe. Um, and I think that's it. Mm, yeah, I use a Muling program here called Atma 5. That's where I put all the stuff that I find. I put them into, load the character. Here he is, dumbest barb ever. Load his various stashes. So here, this stash is called set, which is where I pulled these boots out of. And this stash is called unique. You can name them whatever you want. This is where I pulled this hat out of. These are all items that I have found. And while I'm playing, like while he does his runs, I just have these poorly named stashes that I drop items into until they have about 1,000 items unsorted. Like it sorts them, into whatever, but they're all mixed up. Like this has armors and it has, rings and it has gems and jewels and stuff. And once I get, like 10,000 items, so like 10 of these stashes full, then I go through and sort them into their appropriately named stashes, like amethysts, diamonds, uniques and sets, jewels, whatever. All right. So yeah, I'll be going over all my various characters, their goals, and then my own personal ultimate goal, like what is it that I'm working towards in Diablo 2 over the next coming days or weeks.